that's the way it is. That's nature. So as soon as you figure that out, you got to pick more natural colors as well. But you're always going to catch a lot more redfish that you can't see than the ones that you can see. So if you're thinking that you're going to sight fish these fish on perfect days, most of the time you're wrong. It's tougher to do it that way, unless you can make a super, super, super long cast. And I call it sight fishing. If I see a wake and I know it's a redfish, I'm still sighting them and I'm leading them to catch them. I use extremely long, I like long rods. This is a 7.5 foot rod. I use 8 foot rods sometimes. I like rods that are real soft. I don't like, you see a lot of guys use medium heavy rods or these stiff rods, you know, the jackfish. You can't throw them. I'll fish with a lot of couples on my boat. And you know, women don't have the musculature that guys do, so they can't generate rod speed the way we do. So I make these violent speed up and stop cast. The bait just kicks right out there. It looks like I don't even do anything. It's like this. The thing goes out there 150 feet. And you got a lady on there, and she's going like this, and it falls off 35, 40 feet in front of something, and she's never going to catch a fish doing that. When I used to use stiffer rod actions, they wouldn't. But since I started using lighter rod actions, you know, I'll have women on the boat now, or kids on the boat, and they'll make a cast. Well, they can make a cast now that is 90 to 100 feet because this rod does all the work. It slow loads and launches the jig out there for them, or the top water for them, or a cork with a plastic tail on it. Throws it right out there, does all the work for them. And they'll turn around and they'll ask their boyfriend or their husband or fiance, why don't you buy me a rod like this? You know? And I'll tell them it's not even that expensive of a rod. It's just understanding what action gets the most out of it. The second component to that long cast is going to be a really limp braid. I think the last time I spoke here, I talked a little bit about Daiwa Samurai braid. Great braid. I still use it personally when necessary for long cast situations on the show and whatnot. But it's super expensive. I mean, that stuff costs like $69 for 300 yards. How many of you are willing to do that? Not many. If you're an artificial guy, it's worth it because you're making hundreds of casts in a day, so it's giving you a tactical advantage. But if you're throwing shiners, I'm not paying that for throwing shiners. It just doesn't make sense. But that line's negative side to that line is because it's so limp and it's moving through the guides and the knot's moving through the guides. If you are not smart enough to cut the line from time to time, like 2-3 times a day, and retie your leader, you're going to break a fish off. Like about halfway through the day, I usually cut. I take 2 links of line off the rods, and I retie the leader. And that's if you're power fishing, spoon fishing, top water fishing, that all that violent back and forth, well, when you're using something that's as thin as a spider web, how long do you think is really going to last? I mean, you're kidding yourself. You break a fish off, the first thing you say is what? That's crap line, I'm never buying it again. It's junk. And you tell everybody. Because usually if you're dissatisfied, you tell everybody. I went over and how many of you guys know Vance Tice? He's a pretty straight up dude. He'll tell you the truth about most things. So he turned me on to this Ohiro braid. And I looked at it, it's blue, you know. He said, I'll give you a spool, you go to Louisiana and tell me what you think of it. So I went there, he said it's limp like Samurai, and it costs half. It's half the price. So I started using it. And the first time I used it, I didn't switch the line up fast enough, I broke the fish off. But as soon as I started thinking, hey, this is like Samurai braid, it's really super, I won't even use less than 20 pound. He gave me one that was less than 20 pound, that was the one I broke. I used 20 pound. This stuff is so light and so limp, you can cast it you can cast a mile. I think it's like half the cost of Samurai braid with almost the same results. And so I started using it. I'm happy with it. You know, I told him, if it works for me, I'll tell people about it. It's been working great for me. So I use Ohiro 20 on these spinning rods now because I think it's a good choice. Like all braid that is made for long cast. It's not Power Pro, it's not Spider Wire. Power Pro and Spider Wire you can literally keep on your rod in your garage for 2 years. It's just as strong as it was. It's Spectra fiber. This is this is thermal Dyneema line. It's not like a braid. It's different from a real true braid. It's thermally fused together. That Spectra stuff will last forever. The bad part is it's usually wiry, has memory, doesn't cast as far. Super strong, but doesn't cast as far. Well, we live in Tampa certain amount of water, it displaces and pushes forward. Those fish can feel it. Or the fish that's not even at the fish where you're throwing to feels it, and they start to spook, which tells that fish over. It's like a dominoes. It's like dominoes falling down. The bigger your footprint is, the bigger the boat that you're in, the tougher it makes it. So if you're in a bait boat, you better be able to make a really long cast. If you're in a flats boat, you don't have to make as long casts. If you're in a technical hauling skiff, you don't hardly have to make a cast off. You're in a kayak or wade fishing, you can watch fish go by you, they'll bump into you. You know, that's the reality of it. The smaller you make your presence, the more stealthy you are, the more opportunity you're going to have. The negative to being on foot, or being in a yak, or being in a really small technical hauling skiff that only has a small engine is you can't go too far. So you better know where you're going to go and hope that that place has fish. The advantage of those big boats is you can run all over the place until you find the right fish. So everything's sort of a balance. But actual fishing, that's why these long rods, like braid, long fluorocarbon leaders are going to be a big, big advantage. Huge, huge advantage. Especially if you power fish the way that I do. I'll fish with my guys on the boat, trying to teach them how to be better anglers. And they cannot believe that we're going to make 500 or 600 casts. Some of them can't physically do it. Some of them get tired. They don't want to do that. And we'll natural bait fish sometimes. But there's a lot of them that are hardcore and they want to do it. And they get excited about the process of how we're catching fish more than, you know, okay, well, we caught 30 redfish out of this one school, which that's hard to do these days now because there's so much pressure on these fish. There's so many people fishing for them, especially when the snook got knocked down. Now there's even more people fishing for redfish, so it makes it really tough. But when you teach them how to do it and you get specialized in fishing, there's a greater reward sometimes. You know, there's a lot of the clients that I'm taking fishing, they're not meat fishermen, they're not looking to fill a cooler, they're looking to catch fish and do it a different way and take that reward from doing it the way that we do it on television. And if they want to keep a fish, they keep a fish. It's not a big deal. It's more about conservation and trying to catch a trophy fish rather than trying to do, you know, let's see how many we can catch. It's what you want to get out of it. Any questions so far?
You like that bait better than the old she-dog?
I like the she-dog probably the best for trout. I think that's the best trout bait. As far as top water is the best. I throw the she-dog a lot. There's a she-dog stuck in the carpet in the gunnel that Hell's Bay stand sit down there because that's what I throw a lot. But I like this bait to catch all of them. This bait catches redfish better than the she-dog.
How do you work this different than the she-dog?
No different.
Same thing?
Steady retrieval.
Give it to
You just, every once in a while, like trout fishing, not to get too far off on a tangent from red fishing, with trout fishing you can be really inconsistent working top water. You can work a trout top water where you click, 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 and stop it, where it just stays still, and they'll hit it sitting still on the surface with no motion at all. You can just stop it. If you think you threw it over a good zone and you walked it through there, you're like, wow, I can't believe anything hit it. If you stop it, lots of times they hit it because they were following it the whole way, they just never committed to it, and they'll hit it on the dead stop. When I'm really trying to catch trout, I'll throw it out there, I'll walk it, nothing happens, I'll stop it, and then I'll reel it slow where it acts like a weight bait where it's just going straight across the surface, then I'll stop it again, and then I'll start walking again. And lots of times, just as soon as it starts walking again, they'll hit it right then. It's just experimenting with different retrieves. But if I'm targeting redfish, or I'm targeting snook, I walk it. If it's redfish, I just walk it in a moderate click, 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 so it's easy for them, because they've got to roll over the top of it to get the plug. It's harder for them to get a hold of it. Unless, you know, you're after Jacksonville or St. Augustine redfish that are used to feeding on mullet rods. It's tougher for them to get it. Snook, I work a top water as fast as I can work it until bubbles are coming out from behind it. Because you've got to be able to fool them. It's got to be a very fast retrieve for snook. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. If it's not moving like this, they won't even, now I'm seeing it. I'm going to do it. They're tough to catch. But trout, they want real slow, stop, start, all kinds of funky stuff to get them to go. And redfish, it's just got to be an easy target. Redfish eat all the time. That's why they're such a valuable fish to this estuary, because you catch them 12 months a year. They always bite on high, they bite on just a great fish. They're a fantastic fish, and you can catch them all the time. So they're the easiest fish to catch. People don't think so, but they're the easiest fish to depend on catch. And they do everything habitually the same way, year to year to year. If you've got a redfish spot that you fished 15 years ago, it's probably still a good redfish spot today. It's rare when they get wiped out. You know, they go there for a reason. So.
Then what brand metalware was that you used?
Oh, the green spoon? The green spoon's an aqua green spoon. Remember Mike Hackley used to have Captain Mike's spoons?
Yeah.
He's the one who started aqua green. Now he still has that classic spoon design with the sticker on it. But these are powder coated spoons with a stamped scale, like stamped into it. So these last a lot longer. They're more expensive, but they last longer.
They got the single hook or the treble?
They've got single hooks. I don't ever really like the treble. It works good, but it's just harder to remove fish from it. You got to understand, when you catch a fish on the treble hook, you usually catch them on only one of those little hooks. If you're using braid and you got a stiffer action rod, lots of times fish just open it up and they get off. They don't get off on a single hook. They got to break the hook to get off. And you do a lot less damage to the fish. The treble hook ones swim real nice, but most of the time I find that a single hook spoon is the best way to go in most instances.
On that other one you're talking about, on that O'Hara braid, that's the high-end O'Hara braid, isn't it? The ultralight, that's,
Yeah.
because they make braid already that's different than what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
this is the higher end stuff.
It's just called ultralight? But anyway.
I'd have to look at the pack.
But
He
let's
just
say
handed me it and said, try it. And I said, okay.
But when you go in and there's 2 or 3 times the price of the other, you know you got the right one then.
But the way I look at it is half the price of Samurai braid.
Yeah, but so it's just a higher
It's
end
like,
of the O'Hara.
I don't know, it's probably $29 or something like that. So it was like half the price. They make a fluorocarbon leader material there. I kid you not. I use Seaguar material. I probably buy $1,000 worth of Seaguar fluorocarbon a year, if not more. I buy it. I'm not endorsed by them or whatnot, so I don't get any freebies. And I buy it in tarpon season. I'm taking off like 6-8 feet at a time tarpon leaders. And so just a couple of tarpon rods get spoiled. I go through an entire spool of 25 yards at $25 for that Seaguar. So it kills me. Well, this O'Hara fluorocarbon, I looked at it and I couldn't believe it was 50 yards for $15. So I just figured, it's just one of those Bangladesh knockoffs. Nothing real fancy. It probably isn't very good. If you take a water bottle like you have there and cut off a piece of Seaguar, which I've always considered the premium fluorocarbon in the market, and put a piece of Seaguar in a water bottle, and then take a piece of the O'Hara fluorocarbon, that's $15 for 50 yards. Put the same line diameter and drop it in there, you can't see the O'Hara. You just can't, it's invisible. For the money. Now, he's probably buying it from a Japanese manufacturer and probably just selling it for cost, just to get the name out. So I bought it out of my pocket. I just bought it and tried it to see if it was weak, and caught a bunch of we caught 187 fish in Louisiana in about 2 weeks. Sight fishing. And Bill was there with me for 3 of those days. And it didn't fail. It did great. It did a good job, especially on flats fish. Now, I don't know if I trust it on tarpon yet. I have no idea. I haven't tried it on tarpon. But for doing my everyday fishing, that's the fluorocarbon I'm going to use it, because it doesn't cost nothing. $15 for 50 yards? Are you kidding me? That's a deal. So if there's 2 tips you walk out of here with, O'Hara braid and O'Hara fluorocarbon are worth it. They're worth it. Any other questions so far?
Yes.
I'll take yours first.
What pound leader do you use for fishing?
For flats fishing,
Yes.
I like to give myself a chance if snook are around. If I feel like there's an opportunity to catch a snook, I like to start off with 30. But if the water's real clear,